Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, ladies and gentlemen. The childless cat lady is what she called herself in a recent Instagram post. And, first things first, welcome to CNN. I'm the underdog, Kirk Kennedy. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. All right. I want to appreciate those who've been liking and subscribing to the channel. I think I lost 5 subscribers. You weren't one of the real ones anyway. So, no, I'm just kidding. It is what it is, right? It's life. So, Taylor Swift, after the debate the other night, Tuesday night, Taylor Swift put on her Instagram post, which was well timed. I mean, it was well timed. At least it seemed that way. I don't know. As soon as the debate was over, Taylor Swift puts out an Instagram post endorsing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz specifically for his stance on the transformer community. All right. And it came out right after it. And many people, mainly conservatives, were heated, like really offended. All right. And I was surprised by this. Over the last probably 12 to 16 years, I've been more involved in politics. As you get older, when you're younger, maybe some of you are, but when you're younger, you really don't care about politics. When you're 18, you're just glad to be 18. You're not really thinking about, no one's waiting to become 18 so they can vote. You have to be trained and groomed by your parents a certain way to just can't wait to be 18 and vote. Like most people don't care about being 18 and voting. And you're 22, maybe you like a girl or a guy who's really riled up about politics, and so you vote. So usually into your 20s and then 30s, you start really thinking, okay, my life's settled down. I'm a little bit older now. The youthfulness of uncertainty and not knowing what my future is going to be and all that stuff is starting to wear off. I got a job. I like it or don't like it. I got a family. I love them or don't love, all that stuff, right? So I didn't start really paying attention to politics until, 16 years ago. I'm talking about the presidential election in particular. But I've watched this trend over the years of it happening, and we've all seen it, right? I think there was, in light of 9/11 being yesterday, I think one of the greatest iconic moments in the last 25 years was when George Bush stood at Ground Zero and said, "We hear you. The whole world hears you." And everyone cheered. I thought that was one of his best, greatest moments. Just like people like Trump was like, fight, fight. I thought that was an iconic moment for George W. Bush. It made me really like the dude. I don't know what it was, because what it was, 9/11. I was telling this to my church last night. 9/11 was the first time in a long time that we all felt like we're Americans. It wasn't like, I'm black, I'm from this neighborhood, I'm white, I'm from middle upper class. 9/11 made us feel like we were all Americans, unless you looked Arabic, because then they were just arresting you, especially if you had a beard. It was this crazy time. But in many ways, some of the things that were normally a part of American history were gone. So I thought that was a crazy reality. But over time, since his presidency, George W. Bush, I've watched the political political spectrum has changed. And I remember watching an interview with Newt Gingrich, and he, if I'm not mistaken, he was sort of apologetic about this, and he actually took credit for it. And if I remember correctly, I wish I had this. I didn't really look for it. I'm just thinking about it. But Newt Gingrich said that what would happen is, he said, on the Hill, now I live not too far from the Hill. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get my hair done tomorrow, and I'll drive right by the Hill, right by the, I see it all the time. I take pictures of it. I just do stuff. I'm right near DC. But Newt Gingrich said that what would happen is, because, when people come and work for their senators, right? They're coming from all over the country. Like, people are not from D.C. They're from Wisconsin, Maine, wherever, right? They get these political science degrees and they want to come work so they want to come lobbyists for organizations. When they come to D.C., they largely were friends, like the Democrats and the Republicans. They were friends. They would go out to lunches together. And it was because they understood the world that they were in. It was like being in a fraternity. Like, it's like playing in the NBA. All the players understand what it's like. So even if you don't like on different teams, you can relate. So these people were coming from all over the country. They didn't have the political bent that the congressmen did because they've been in office for decades. Sidebar real quick, right? One of the ways I think if we're going to change American politics for real, we focus so much on who sits in the White House. We got to change the terms that people can serve in Congress. These people have been carrying grudges for decades. You'd be shocked how much of the trouble in America is not just a leftist agenda or right agenda or right-wing conspiracy. Some of it is just this congressman, this senator on the left is offended because 22 years ago, he needed a bill passed for his city or his state that would give him a favorable look. And the Republican who sat as the head of the committee vetoed it and didn't give it to him. And now you would be shocked how much of politics is personal to them. It's not always about like what we want and what's best for us. They fight each other. I thought House of Cards, it was fictional, but I knew some people who worked on the Hill when House of Cards was like a thing before Kevin Spacey ruined it because he couldn't control his sexual urges. That show, most of the people who work on the Hill told me that the majority of people on the Hill watch that show. They love it. And they said it's accurate. They said the only difference is that all of the congressmen are like Frank. It's not just the Kevin Spacey character. They're all like that. So that gave me some insight. This was a while ago. I actually liked House of Cards some years ago. And now I have different perspectives on what I watch. But back then I liked the show. It was interesting because it gave me a view into the political realm that I hadn't really seen done well before. I didn't watch West Wing and all that type of stuff. I wasn't into it then, but House of Cards got my attention. So I used to know people who said that it's like that on the Hill. But what they did was they would congregate and hang out together and they would date each other. They didn't come to D.C. with the political agenda. But when you work with these congressmen, when you work for these people and you become their staff members, you start to inherit their beefs. It's like being in the street. If you join a gang, even if you never had any problem with the rival gang, if you join a gang, you inherit their beef. That's just the way it is. So they inherit it. So Newt Gingrich was apologizing for being single-handedly like saying, I don't want Republicans hanging with Democrat pundits and things like that. So they changed it. And so now when they come to work for these senators, there's no longer a friendship or camaraderie. These people are on polar opposites. They end up hating each other on one level. And he was taking credit for that. Over the years, we've seen the political realm, I think it's always been somewhat vitriolic, but I feel like we've seen it get worse and worse to the point where people are really, 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 really angry at you if you don't vote. And you know what's funny with me, if people hear me say I don't vote, the first thing they say is, well, most people will say this. Well, man, you should vote because if they're black, our ancestors fought so that we could vote and so forth. And I totally understand that argument. But what I've realized is if I said, okay, I'm going to vote, like when I've heard people say that, all right, I'm going to vote. But if I'm voting based on my ancestry and as a black man, then the black vote traditionally goes to the Democrats. So I'm going to vote and vote Democrat. Then people get offended. So you realize you don't care if I vote because I'm black. You want me to vote the way you want me to vote, right? It's really just a manipulation tactic. It's selfish ambition. People don't care when they say, look, we got to get people to vote. No, you don't want people to vote. You want people to vote the way you vote. Because if you get 10 million people to vote and they vote against the people you want to win, then it doesn't benefit you. So a lot of the pressure, like rock the vote, we got to get people to vote. But a lot of that pressure is not what you think it is. It's not, hey, they want you to get out there and exercise your right to vote. No, they want you to vote for who they think should win, because if you say you're going to vote for the opposite, they don't want you to vote, right? So I've been seeing this for a long time, which is why I think a lot of this is a smokescreen. So I'm not saying don't vote. It's just my personal perspective. And some of you may unfollow me because of it, and it was nice knowing you if you do. I will still exist and be here if you do. I talk about many things. Politics is just one of many. But recently, Taylor Swift put out this thing, and I've watched the progression of vitriol from both sides develop. It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating how you tear apart everything. But I was actually a little surprised at how much of anger came from mainly conservatives for Kamala Harris being endorsed by Taylor Swift, and almost really attacking Taylor Swift on multiple levels. And I realized that I think they're confirming to me why I don't like politics, why as a Christian I have no interest in voting. And that's fine if you disagree. I say this not in an arrogant way, but I really don't care if you agree or disagree. I don't even know many of you. It is what it is. Like, we all have our own convictions. I think a lot of politics has less to do with my right to vote and more to do with who you think I should vote for, because there's an underlying issue that I've talked about before. And I think this is why Megyn Kelly, Steven Crowder, Patrick Bet-David from Value, all these people are upset at Taylor Swift. So I want you to watch this really brief short of Megyn Kelly basically just bombing on. She is crashing out on Taylor Swift. And I want to tell you what I think is happening. I think they beep out the curse words here, but if they don't, I apologize. I just want you to see it as it is. All right. So this is a clip, a short of Megyn Kelly and the point that she makes, what she says. And Megyn Kelly's a pretty popular woman, has a big YouTube channel, has a show on YouTube. She's a staunch conservative and so forth. Here's what she says to Taylor Swift shortly after Taylor Swift endorses Donald Trump. Here's what she says.
F you. F you, Taylor Swift. That's how I feel. I'm so angry about this. If she just came out and said, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because I think she's the better leader, whatever. To specifically cite Tim Walz and his stance on the trans issue is disgusting. She is no heroine to young girls. She's a danger to them. If she's going to take the power she has, thanks to her singing and her songs about her shitty love life and inability to actually meet somebody who will treat her right, and turn it into a manipulation of young girls on the, in her own words, LGBTQ front, then shame on her.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first from Megyn Kelly. All right, and then Steven Crowder also did a video called Taylor Swift's A Piece of, you can figure it starts with an S, right? And so forth. And I've watched Patrick Bet-David said, over 334,000 people went to the website that she talked about on her link. And they're saying that her endorsement was a flop because she has 284 million followers, only 333,000 went, and so forth and all this. And that may be true. This is why I don't like politics. Let me tell you the real reason why I personally don't like politics. Now, I'm a conservative. I've never voted Democrat in my life. And if I were voting, I wouldn't vote Democrat. But I don't think I could vote conservative anymore either, because I see what it really is. And I see the spirit behind American politics. See, I think as a Christian, we're supposed to do this. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Not expose the darkness on the opposing side that you don't want to win, but the darkness on your side. Like, as believers, we're citizens of the kingdom of heaven, not citizens of America, right? We're by default, yes, but I'm not so in love with America. I'm a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, right? So I try to expose the deeds of darkness in what I see. And there's darkness all over the place. This is like slipping in the darkness. It's everywhere, right? But here's why I really hate politics. Because the spirit behind the political agenda, it has nothing to do with Jesus Christ at all. Now, I'm not saying don't vote if you're a Christian. Vote. I always say vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. But the spirit of politics, and the reason why I think Megyn Kelly is so angry, why Steven Crowder is so angry, why Pat Bet David said that Taylor Swift, that was the dumb move to endorse her right away, should have waited till a week out, all that, and basically discrediting her, saying it was a flop. First of all, no one knows what her endorsement will accomplish. We don't know. We don't know. I personally believe that we are doomed whoever wins the presidency. I really believe that. But the reason why I hate politics right now, the reason why I don't vote, is because there's a spirit behind the political realm, and you and I are being sucked into it. Now, when I say you and I'm talking about if you're a Christian, definitely you and I, but if you're just watching it, it's all of us. But for believers, there's a particular way that there's a spirit behind this that is more antichrist than Christ. And I think believers are sucked into this, which is why the character of believers, now I don't know if Megyn Kelly professes to be a believer or not. I've never heard her, so I don't know. But the reason why so many people are offended that she endorsed with her influence, her popularity, why they're afraid. They're afraid because they're afraid if Kamala Harris wins, or what will happen to the country, or the other side's afraid if Donald Trump wins, what will happen to the country. He's going to set our country back. Kamala Harris is going to endure all these things, right? Let's just be clear. Let's just be honest, all right? Donald Trump was president from 2016 to 2020, and then Joe Biden sort of was president from 2020 to 2020. Because he's been the figurehead, but I think we all know that Joe Biden has not been leading the country for the last 4 years. And you can't have that type of mental game and lead the nation. Like, what are we doing? Democrats, what are you doing? What were you trying to do? Like, this is why, that's one of the reasons why, this is my main point. One of the reasons why I hate politics is because they try to insult our intelligence. They both try to insult our intelligence. Trump promises one thing and then does another. He promised to build, he ran on a campaign to build the wall and stop immigration, and then he didn't do it, and then he's blaming the Biden administration for all the immigrants. What happened to Mexico paying for the wall? What happened to that? Democrats, how dare you put a dude up in front of us and actually think that we're dumb enough to think he can run the country when he couldn't even stop smiling at the wrong questions in the debate with Donald Trump that was so obvious that you had to pull him and put Kamala Harris up. Stop insulting our intelligence, please. Please stop. That's one reason. But that's not my main reason why I hate politics and why I don't vote. There's a spirit, and there's a spirit of fear. There's a spirit of fear. And if you are a Christian, if you're not, I totally get it. And I get it. Thank you for watching, and if you subscribe, thank you. But if you're a believer, the Bible is very clear on something. And I should have put this verse up on the screen, but I'm going to do it right now, and I can't even do it like real smooth. Sometimes you try to be like real smooth about this stuff, man. You just can't do it. There's just no smooth way to do this, man. So I'm just going to do it, right? And I'm trying to find this verse right now. And I want to show you this verse and give it to you. Let me say what it is first. It says, "For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control." Let me tell you, the political agenda, and many of you have fallen victim to this, is the spirit of fear is behind it, right? And the spirit of fear comes from the enemy. It does not come from God. God doesn't give believers a spirit of fear. The overarching theme behind it, why Megyn Kelly's upset, because she's afraid if Kamala Harris wins. Yes, you don't want him to endorse. Yes, Tim Walsh is ridiculous in his endorsement of these things. These people have no idea the harm that they're causing. I totally agree with that, right? Totally agree with that. But the reality is they're trying to bait you by being afraid of what will happen to the country, and it's fear. And when you're afraid of things, you will become irrational. You'll lash out. You'll try to hurt you. As a black man who is a big black dude, I've been the recipient of fear of people being afraid of me, white people, police officers, whatever. And you act differently when you're afraid of something. You start defending yourself in ways that you don't need to because I'm not attacking you, right? Listen, America's a big country, and no matter what you think is best for the nation, no matter what you think is best for the nation, there's a lot of people here who will have competing ideas. That's the beauty, quote unquote, of America. We're a melting pot. I don't agree with a lot. As a believer, I don't agree with 98% of the stuff that I hear and see, but I have to live in this world and be in and of it. So I try to stay balanced because I see darkness on all sides. I'm not unique. I don't think I know more than anyone. Someone said, "Oh, you think you got it figured out?" No, this is my perspective. And fam, you don't have to watch what I do on the show. I don't think I got it figured out, but I'm allowed to say what I think. And if you watch it and you agree, cool. If you don't, good on you. Like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not on your Facebook, your YouTube channel saying you think you got it all figured out. As a believer, I just don't. I think the spirit of fear, when I'm motivated by fear, I know it's not of God. And I know that my actions after that will probably not be godly. They're going to be selfish ambition, because when I'm motivated by fear, I'm thinking about myself and how things affect me and my family, and it's selfish ambition, right? And you look at James 3, wisdom from above versus wisdom when there's selfish ambition and rivalry. These things are unearthly. They're earthly, unspiritual, they're demonic. Politics does not have a positive agenda. It has a fear agenda. Most of the debate was really about, do you see what's going to happen if this person wins and runs the country? Newsflash, the country did not get destroyed when Donald Trump was president. Newsflash, America's still here even though Trump was. You know why? Because America's not going to be destroyed unless the Lord Jesus Christ decrees it. And this is why, as a believer, I'm not afraid, but other people get offended because I'm not afraid, because I'm a citizen of the kingdom. I'm not inheriting the nation. I'm inheriting the earth when it's all said and done, just not this version of it. And I believe that. As believers, as Christians, if you're a believer, we're not to be given into fear. But even if you're not a believer, understand you're being manipulated by fear. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't things to be concerned about if these people win, but you think about the nation of Israel, right? Israel is a very small nation surrounded by a bunch of enemies. And despite the fact that they outnumber Israel by billions of people probably, there's countries that have weapons. Sure, America has been one of the biggest supporters of it, but they haven't been able to destroy the Jews in Israel, as small as it is. They can't do it because God is involved in that. God is not, you're not wiping, no one's wiping no one off the map, and no countries are getting, unless the Lord decrees it. And I think as a believer, you have to have confidence in that. Now, I'm not saying don't vote and don't have a position and don't care about policies. What I'm saying is, do not give in to the fear. Megyn Kelly's reaction, and all these conservatives are angry at Taylor Swift because they're afraid that her endorsement may make Kamala Harris win. Because I can't prove this, what I'm about to say, because it's not what happened. I usually don't like to make these kind of arguments because they're based on something that didn't happen, but I'll just say it for the record to make the point. I'm positive that if Taylor Swift had endorsed Donald Trump, Megyn Kelly would have had nothing but good things to say. She would have said, my children love her music. She's such a role model. I'm so glad that she's endorsed her. It would have been totally different. Her critique, her anger, and all of it was only because you're not doing what I think you should do. And I'm afraid that you're going to let this woman and this man who's the vice president, it's based on fear. So I'm not saying don't be informed. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is understand, whether you're a Christian or not, that most of the messaging that you're hearing is that we're be afraid, be very afraid of the opposing side. You're not making rational decisions because of it. If you're a believer, you're not given a spirit of fear. So when you're motivated by fear, and here's what happens, when you're afraid of the country, you're not afraid of the Lord. You don't fear the Lord anymore. When you're so afraid of what will happen if a particular person enters the White House, you no longer have confidence in the sovereignty of God. You don't fear the Lord, because when you fear the Lord, you try to act the way that the Lord wants you to act. But when you're angry, vitriolic, when you're cussing people out, all these things, as a believer, you're proving that your fear is it's satanic fear. It's a fear that has no obedience in it. So I'm not saying who to vote for. I don't care who you vote for, to be honest. Sure, I think there's some votes there's some votes I just don't understand, and I get it. But there's a difference between I'm going to be afraid and lose sleep. I'm going to be angry and break character. I'm going to do all these things because I'm, as a believer, no, sir. Like, the Lord is sovereign. Like, I'm so not worried about it. That doesn't mean I'm going to like every law that gets passed. And no, of course not. I got to pay groceries. I got 3 skinny teenagers who eat like they're fat, like they're me. Yeah, that stuff bothers me. Yeah, gas prices go up. Yeah, that bothers me. But we got to live. We live. I think about all the believers who don't have the political structure or don't even have the opportunity to be involved in a political structure like we do. Think of all those people, all those believers who still have to glorify God. Brothers and sisters, if you're a Christian, you got to honor the Lord if you like who's in the White House or if you don't. And the scripture is very emphatic in 1 Peter 2, honor the emperor, right? He didn't say honor the emperor that you bang with. Honor the emperor that you voted for. Pray for the leaders that you like. That's not what we do. It's not what we do. But people will have their own opinion. They'll get offended at this. And I honestly don't care. We're such a United Sissies of America. They just get it. So I'm just used to it. I'm used to people getting offended, going in the comment section and all capping me and calling me woke. By all means, do it. I don't care about either candidate. And I don't care about voting because it's the spirit behind the voting is based on a fear that the Lord says I'm not supposed to have. And so I reject the whole notion of it in terms of me having to vote. I'm rejecting it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to allow myself to fall victim to the cultural. Listen, we're supposed to be in the world, but not of it. And I think many believers are now of the world. We're worried about the things the world doesn't worry about. Paul talked about when we lose believers who die in the faith, he said we don't grieve as the world grieves. Right? That's biblical. When a Christian dies, you grieve because of the loss of relationship, but they're in eternity with God. You will see them again. We don't grieve as the world grieves. I think a case could be made that we don't fear as the world fears. And most of modern day politics, the strategy from both sides is fear. Fear. And they want you to be manipulated by that fear and to be outraged because you're afraid of if this person gets in the White House. God is sovereign over every sinful thing that happens in our country, every policy that we don't like. God is aware, and he'll handle it when it's time, when he says it's time. I'm not putting any confidence in these unregenerate people and expecting them to do what's right by God or what I think when they don't even want to honor the Lord in anything, most of what they do. It's selfish ambition. Brothers and sisters, if you're a Christian, don't fall for it. If you're not a Christian, what I'm saying is still true for you. You may not have the same hope that I do. You may have reasons why you're an atheist or whatever you are, but you're still being manipulated by fear. Be careful, because that fear is not going to go anywhere. They're going to keep using it because it's a good tactic. So, but what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a chubby dude that's trying to get his YouTube channel up. All right, let's go to the tape. If there's a bunch of wild stuff in this tape, I ain't got time for it because it's late. All right, here we go. Shannon Collins, hello. It's been a minute since I called live. Good to have you back, Shannon. What? Why are people surprised? Of course, Taylor Swift. 100%, bro. Kinetic Green. Thank you. Common sense. But here's why they're surprised, because they're afraid. They're not surprised that she endorsed Kamala Harris. They're not surprised. The conservatives from Ben Shapiro, far right on down, have said that the liberal media, Hollywood is me, and they're all left. They've been saying that for the longest time. They were tooting that horn when Biden won in 2020, but instead the election was stolen. Of course, they're not surprised. They're afraid, and that's why I think, man, we shouldn't. I just can't get into it. I'm not going to be afraid. Yolanda Trueheart. Yolanda, hello. Nice to see you. This is the party of Christians. I'm not sure which party you're referring to, Yolanda. So say something else in this section. I'm not sure what you're saying. Yes, Brother Kurt. And then some places, people out of blue, random people ask them if they need a ride to the polls. But these same people will never call. Believe in hope. I should sing some Before I Let Go. Frankie Beverly just died. Frankie Beverly, some of y'all know about that, but some of y'all don't know. Before I let go. That's 100%. These people, it's selfish ambition. They'll knock on your door to get you. Listen, people don't want me to vote as a black man because my ancestors died, paid the way so we could vote. Because as soon as I say, all right, I'm going to vote opposite of what you think, they'll get offended. People want you to vote what they think is best, not what you think is best. And this is what fear does. Fear cultivates selfish ambition. And what I mean by the selfish ambition is when you're afraid, self-preservation becomes key. I got to protect myself. When you're afraid, you got to defend myself. Got to protect myself. That's a normal. So when you're afraid of what's going to happen, it's self-preservation. I got to get out there and tell people to vote. You don't want people to vote. You want people to vote who you think is best, not who they think is best. It's a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen. And I just think a lot of believers have fallen short of that. What's up? So what's up, Larry? Politics is a huge insult to our character. Brother, man, listen, bro. Democrats have been lying to black people so long, and we supposed to be sharp. Black people supposed to be sharp, fam. They've been lying to black people so long. It is incredible. And the Republicans been lying to Christians for so long. People forget that when abortion became law, people forget who brought abortion into law. Republicans did. Republicans did. Go back and do your history. The Southern Baptist Convention agreed to have it as part of their charter that under certain circumstances, right? If you want to do some real history, this is all. I'm just going to give you this. You go listen, Google, go to Perplexity, look this up, right? The religious right did not really begin and did not have the abortion conviction until Jerry Falwell and Bob Jones and them were told by the federal government that they need to integrate black people into Bob Jones University, and they took away, I think it was Jerry Falwell, they took away some status from him because of what, and so to get the government back, they wanted to find a way to push back against the government. And there's more to it. I'm just giving a paraphrase because that's not what this video is about. And so all of a sudden there was a theologian and a scientist traveling the country talking about a woman's right to choose, the abortion, right? They were talking about it, and then Jerry Falwell and them attached themselves to that cause, rallied around it, got conservative Christians to rally around that base, and then all of a sudden, they become the religious right, which allows Ronald Reagan to become the president. But that wasn't out of a conviction. That wasn't a big deal in the 70s when Roe v. Wade and all that stuff was passed. When they wasn't tripping off that back then. It became a pushback because for some of them, the government did not allow them to continue to be racist, and they made them pay fines for that. And this was their Megyn Kelly to Taylor Swift back to the guy. I mean, there's a lot going on. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, there's a lot going on. We could talk, but that's not what this video is about. We're not trying to go that hard. Y'all don't want that smoke tonight. Yep, Yolanda, yep, appreciate you. My G, I rewatched this video from the beginning. That's what it is. She is a hater. I think if you're talking about Megyn Kelly, 100%. All of them are haters, though. Taylor Swift is a hater. They're all to me, they're all haters. They're all haters. It's crazy. Harris or Trump, small potatoes, but God, 100%. God has all power. 100%. Respect. Yolanda, I appreciate that. Thank you. Agreed. I'm not sure, but I appreciate that, Yolanda. Historically, how much does it even make a difference in the voting whom celebrities endorse? So this is what I would say, Richard. I think historically, you're probably right. Here's the difference, though. Our culture has moved from sort of a leadership political to an influencer culture. So now you can be the average Joe, but if you have a podcast or a blog or something that people like and you get people following you, you become an influencer. So a lot of people now, because you have more access to the celebrities, when I grew up, and you probably know this too, Rich, we grew up under the National Enquirer. Inquiring minds want to know, like me. Remember those commercials? And it was gossip columns. You had to be in the grocery store with your mom, not wanting to be there, and then you might grab a magazine and look at it because you see pictures of celebrities. That was all it was. But now that we have sort of this almost immediate access to people who are famous, the idolatry and worship of them has increased. Because you could tweet something and Taylor Swift could like your tweet or retweet it. And it's like, oh my gosh. This is the culture we live in. Remember I talked about this in a different video. Whenever you watch like a sporting event, like a basketball game or a football game, and they show people in the Jumbotron, why do people be like, Why do they flip out? Because we all want that, right? We idolize and crave the attention, and the next best thing is to get the attention of people that we idolize and crave. So because there's so much access to these people, the idolatry and the trust of them and the desire for them and the willingness to follow what they say has increased. So maybe historically, but I think right now we're in a different culture. So it remains to be seen. But if Kamala Harris wins, I bet you people will attribute it to Taylor Swift. They will attribute a lot of it to that. So I haven't caught alive in a minute. The way I've been leaning lately is thinking about the well-being of the area around me. Well said, John. I think that's one of the best ways you could do. On the GOP Party of Christians in May, giving the finger and saying it. Yeah. Party of Christians. Well said. Yes, that's what I thought you meant, but I wasn't sure. I think, yeah. And she just doesn't even care. But remember, hey, do you remember, Yolanda, when Trump got shot? And this guy was going around saying that God told him that Trump was going to get shot, and that Trump after that was going to turn into this godly Christian, and it's going to be this. And then he quoted from some, I want to say it was some passage, but that Megyn Kelly was on air either reading from Ephesians, or I think it was Ephesians. I want to say it was Ephesians, but she called it Ephesians or something. She read it and was like, I'm so affected by these words. It had nothing to do with Donald Trump, but she read it as if this is the Bible, and she pronounced Ephesians like Ephesus. It was it may not have been, it was some book of the Bible where she butchered the name of it, right? It was clear, I don't know if she's a believer, but if you are, shame on you for not even knowing how to pronounce the books of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, geez. So I just think it's all a facade. There's no party of Christians, right? There's a party of fear. There's a party of power. And the fear of not having that power is what drives many people. It's straight Mark 4, the parable of the sower. The cares of this life, the desire for riches, and the love for other things are what does it. So, yeah. I don't think either party truly represents Christ. They care about their 100%. Trust in Jesus, as you say, Pastor Cole. Yeah, vote your conscience. That's my thing. Listen, I'm not telling nobody. Because everyone's going to stand before the Lord and give an account. No matter what you say, only the Lord and that person know, like, what they actually approve of. I know people who detest conservatives, Republicans, and all, and they wouldn't vote for Donald Trump in a heartbeat. So they're going to vote almost to not vote against Donald Trump. But they do not agree with abortion. They don't agree with it, and they don't agree with the LGBT. But if you vote for them, they're just saying, well, then you do. And again, it's a double. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think Christians should cry out to the Lord, millions of us, and ask him to move, and then see what he does, instead of crying out to him for a particular unregenerate, unsaved human being. It's just crazy to me. But what do I know? Wow, Republicans brought this into law. 100%. Please go look that up. Go look that up. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I studied this years ago. Go look that up. Go look it up. I think Planned Parenthood definitely was to kill black babies. That's part of it. But it was just deeper than that. I think they brought it into law. Republicans brought that into law. And then, and a lot of Christians, Southern Baptist Convention was okay with it until, and then I'm telling you, I didn't plan on saying that. So I should have brought these articles to show you what I'm talking about, but it is what it is. Believers got to realize, in a sense, these politicians want to establish their own kingdom. So why be so, I just think that's what it is. Like, where's the biblical, when did it become like, we gotta fight for our country? Like, when did that? We go into all the world and make disciples, baptizing them, and teaching them to observe all that I commanded you, not teaching them to vote a particular way. Hold on one second. That was weird, but I had to get that phone call because it was important. All right. So anyway, I think, but you know, this is what it reveals to me. If I'm being honest, and again, I'm not trying to be self-righteous. I think I have many flaws. I'm flawed, but I'm not faking. My faith is real, but I'm flawed. I'm very many flaws. What I think is happening, though, is many believers, you've heard me say this before, Rich, so this ain't new to you. Many of us define our Christianity by what the Constitution says. We define it constitutionally, not Christologically, right? And I'll use this example again. And I'm a dead horse, but you can still eat a dead horse can still have meat to it, right? It can still be useful. They define themselves constitutionally. So, like the First Amendment rights say freedom to practice religion, right? And Americans Christians are like offended at the loss. How dare you infringe on my rights to my freedom of speech rights, all right? My freedom to practice religion. That's a constitutional. Christologically, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't say we have free speech. The Bible says we got to tame our tongue. Ephesians 4 talks about coarse joking and all of that. Let that not be. The Bible doesn't give us free speech. And the Bible does not say we have the right to practice our religion. No, it says we have a responsibility to do so. Like, I got to be a believer whether you take away my right or not. And that might mean I have to stand up for Jesus, and I may get killed for that. I may be a martyr because I refuse to disobey, but I don't have a right to practice my religion. That's not Jesus said, look, if the world hates you, remember that they hate me first. It's John 15, 18 to 20. And Matthew 24, he said, tribulation will come and nation will rise against nation and people will hate you because of my namesake, right? We get this, we hear this all the time. Like, we're not, we're supposed to live with the character of the kingdom of heaven, but we live in the reality of the kingdom of Satan. So he's not going to want us to practice our religion. But so many Christians, the Bible says 2 Timothy 3:12, indeed all who desire to live a godly life will be persecuted, right? What does persecution mean? It's like we're so afraid of that. We push back against the very thing that may make us godly. I just think it's fascinating, to be honest with you. Fascinating. I just think it's wild. So yeah, vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. Listen, people aren't going to heaven because they made a profession of faith. They're going to heaven because they had a character of that profession. If you look at the Bible, the one thing that's always this is why I said this the other day. The Bible does not tell us what to do in every situation. But you know what it does tell us? The Bible tells us how to act, how to behave in every situation. That's what we get. We don't know what to do. Should I take this job? Should I buy this house? Should I go do this? Should I vote? We don't get that. The Bible does not tell us. It's not a manual book. Like, that's why I was saying the other day, I hate when people say, like, well, what Bible verse is that? I mean, there's tons of verses in the Bible that we do that have nothing. The Bible doesn't tell me what time to start my church, how many songs to sing, how to preach, what end times position should I have. Those are major things. The Bible doesn't say nothing about those things. It doesn't tell me how to raise my kids. It says, like, it talks about character. Don't exasperate your children, discipline your children with the rod. It tells me those things, but like, it doesn't tell me in every situation, hey, should I do this? Should I spank them now or should I not? What do I do here? What Bible verse says that? You don't get that. What you get is the character. And we're going to heaven based on our faith in Jesus Christ and our imitation of his character, not our imitation of particular policies. And this is why I think, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? Bruh, she can't pronounce Ephesians. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm sure it was Ephesians. I'm almost positive, but I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. The internet, they said, never fails. But she couldn't pronounce it. And I sat there and watched it and thought, wow, this woman is saying this with a straight face. And she was acting like, because it was about Donald Trump. Listen, I promise you, and I can't prove this, so maybe I shouldn't say I promise you, because that's arrogant. That sounds arrogant. And I don't know. I'm not the Lord, and I'm not Dr. Strange where I can look at all possibilities. But I'll say this. I believe that if Taylor Swift had endorsed Trump, she would have said, man, I love her. I love her music. Me and my daughters, if she has, I'm assuming she has children, I don't know. But we were playing her music this morning, singing into it. She wouldn't have called it that. She's offended because she's afraid. Because the spirit of politics is a spirit of fear. And it wants you and I to be so afraid, because when you're fearful, you're not fearing the Lord when you're fearful of what's going to happen. How are you fearing the Lord if you're afraid of what's going to happen in the culture? You're afraid of what happens there, as if God is somehow only sovereign when things go your way. No. Jeez. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I remember. And Trump is unrepentant and that ear looks fine and he got shot up. Yolanda, you on point tonight. Yolanda for 3. You on point tonight. I mean, that's 100%. I ain't seen a budge in Trump. I haven't seen a budge. So that prophet, this is why, man, I ain't saying nothing negative about that dude. I just don't know if he heard from the Lord the way he said he did. All right. I've been listening in. Appreciate you, Brother Kurt. Future's one of the OGs. Future been with me when I was like at 1,500 subscribers. Future was there a while ago when I didn't even care about making these videos. When Ruslan told me I got to be more on YouTube. Appreciate you, Future. Okay, y'all going back and forth. Hey, sis. Okay, that's what's up. Hey, sis. True. Good to see you too, sweet. Yeah, that's what's up. See y'all doing y'all thing. Future, I saw you on another site trying to reach out to you. Okay, that's what's up. You know, y'all do y'all thing. I see y'all. Yeah, Ephesians. She was trying to say you got it right. Yeah, I thought it was. Ephesians, man. Crazy time. Facts at Yolanda. Yep, 100%. True heart, I come on your back to get it. All right, boom. All right, man. Look, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. Cool. Thanks for hanging around as long as you did. And but if you don't, let's keep the party moving. People don't want balance, right? People are afraid. They want someone who's going to agree with their fear, not someone who's going to tell them, you don't got to be afraid. So I'm going to be the you don't got to be afraid. So if I grow, cool. If I don't, cool. But I'm doing what I do for him and for you, for those that follow. Appreciate y'all. The greatest followers in the world. Appreciate y'all. Future and Yolanda, I hope y'all connect. Y'all on here going wild. All right. We'll see y'all when I see y'all. Give a comment on the actual video so we can keep the party going. Like and subscribe. Let's get it. Yolanda Trueheart.